All right, what's going on, everybody? So today we're going to talk about the importance of scent control. Paying attention to your scent, not only your body odor, with your shower and whatnot, but your clothing and the wind. Now, all of these topics we can really go into a lot of detail with, especially the wind and hunting thermals. That can get a long, lengthy topic, and we can spend days talking about it, especially when we go into hill country terrain and a lot of folks hunting more mountainous terrain. So we can really get into some serious detail there, and that's another video. So we're going to touch on it today because it's extremely important, but due to this length, we're going to leave that for another video another day. So there's also a lot of products out there, and it can get really confusing, especially with a lot of marketing. Everybody claims that their stuff works, and this is how you're going to kill the biggest buck of your life, and so on. We've all heard it. Also, everybody and their buddy has their own opinion on what works, what doesn't work. I've got an assortment here of products that personally I use, I feel comfortable with, and I feel confident using. I've found that they work for me. Does that mean that you should, I'm going to hard sell them to you? No. And personally, I'm not sponsored by any of these products at this moment that this video was done. So, knowing that, I'm going to go into exactly what my process is leading into the hunt, as well as actually in the field, and then care for your clothing. So let's get into it. So the first thing I want to talk about actually is the wind, because it's number one. The deer are going to use it to their advantage, and no matter how good we are with our scent control regimen, keeping our clothes scent free, our body scent free, if you're like me, you've got a long hike, difficult hike in, you're going to be sweating. It's a high intense, access, and we do our best to stay scent free, but at the end of the day, there's going to be some scent. It's just going to be part of it. So how do we get around that little bit of scent that's left? And one of the biggest things I do is I carry milkweed with me. This is one of Phase's products and their wind floaters, but in reality, it's just milkweed in a little container. So get yourself some milkweed, get yourself some powder. The reason I like the milkweed, and a lot of people do like the milkweed, you're going to hear it a lot, is that these carry further. The powder disperses really fast, and you're going to see exactly what the wind is doing immediately in your location. But what it doesn't show you is what the wind is doing 20, 40, 60 yards away. As that floater gets down into that draw and bends, it's going to show you exactly what that wind is doing, not only at your tree, but as it carries down into the bottoms or wherever you happen to be hunting. If you're hunting marshy areas, more flat ground, and you're hunting on top of a ridgy area, the wind is going to be very consistent, easy to predict, not a big deal. The issue when you're going to start seeing the problems is if you're hunting hill country and you start getting to that, you're the top third, but you're down just a little bit. You're starting to get towards the middle of that ridge, and especially if you drop into the bottoms, that can be very tricky. And in reality, a lot of times the wind just isn't predictable down there. It's going to swirl, it's going to change directions, it's going to be the way it is. So what I'll do, if I have a location that I'm going to be hunting that's got tricky terrain features, tricky wind, I'm going to use these floaters either when I'm scouting or both. When I'm scouting and when I'm going to my tree stand location, a possible tree stand location, I'm going to check the wind, see exactly what it's doing in that location. So this past weekend that I was hunting this location where I had a northwest wind, but what was happening is the wind was funneling up the main opening of the draw and then turning and going northwest, which would mean that it would be coming from a southeast, right? That's just how the terrain feature works and how the wind is bending and using those draws and sucking my scent down into the draw. So, knowing that, I'm going to pay attention to that and hunt a little bit further up closer to the cedars. That way my wind can funnel up in a direction that more than likely I'm just above where the deer movement is going to be. And if you're going to hunt, up against a field, if you're going to hunt up against a lake or a creek or something like a hard block that keeps the deer from going downwind of you, the better you can be. It's not always a possibility, but if you can help it, go for it. So check the wind, stay consistent, know your property, and that specific stand location will help you pick and choose exactly where your setup should be. And sometimes it's as easy as a 40-yard adjustment. So that's number one. Now let's get on into actual body care and showering. All right, so when I'm in deer season like this and hunting every weekend, I'm not using any other shampoo and body wash other than this phase system. I personally like the phase. That's my personal opinion. I feel like it works. I like it, so I use it. And I will only use this during the deer season just because the last thing I want to do is leave some kind of smelly odor on my body that I don't need to be there. I'll keep my beard fairly trimmed. I'll keep my hair fairly trimmed. The reason for that is because hair holds odor. Hair is the worst offender of holding odor that you could have. So growing out that big bushy beard, it looks cool, terrible for scent control. So keep it trimmed up. Use your body wash and shampoo on a regular basis as often as I can. I also use the phase deodorant, so get yourself, a scent killer deodorant. Don't use anything that has any odor to it or smell to it. It's especially if it has a strong odor. That's just going to travel a long ways, and man, those deer are going to pick you off, and you're not going to have a chance. So keep everything scent free. Don't use any heavy odors. If you're a smoker, really try to if you can limit it, the better off you are. So I love smoking cigars. That is a heavy smoke. That is a very potent smell. I won't smoke cigars very often at all during deer season, and I especially won't smoke them within days of a hunt. I will not do it. That will just hold in my beard. That smell will hold in my beard. It'll hold in my breath, and it'll hold in my hands for a couple days, and it's very potent. So be smart about what you're doing, and in the tree, you hear people about shooting bucks with they're chewing and they're smoking cigarettes and talking about, oh, you don't need to care about any of that scent control stuff. I shot this giant, smoking a cigarette. Well, in all reality, that's probably the one big buck they've ever shot and probably ever going to shoot, if we're going to be really honest. And a lot of times they're also gun hunters. They're shooting them at a distance. So those deer, if you're okay with that one luck and done, it is what it is. But me personally, I want to be consistent every year. I want to see success every year. I don't want to see that one and done kind of buck and that's your peak of your hunting career. So, knowing that, I'm going to do everything in my power to increase the odds of my success. So, we've covered the body odor. Now let's get into pre-hunt clothing. Pre-hunt clothing, laundry detergent. I'm going to use the phase. So everything that's not scent lock, I'm going to wash in this very regularly. And I'm going to make sure my hands are clean. They don't have any weird smells on them. I'm going to put them right in the wash. I'm going to hit them with this detergent. The moment that washing machine is done, I'm going to move it to the dryer. And the moment that dryer is done, I am moving it into my scent tight totes. I'm not letting it sit in the dryer and sit in the washer, collecting all of that odor. And one of the best things I do too is I'll actually run a pre-wash with my scent control stuff to get all of that other laundry detergent out, any smells out. Do my best with cleaning the washer, and then I'll put my hunting clothing in and hit it with this. Rarely will I ever wash my scent lock. Honestly, scent lock, it will actually negatively affect your clothing by washing it on a regular basis. That goes directly into the dryer. 45 to 60 minutes on high, get them washed, get them deabsorbed, and directly back into the tote. That's another topic that we could really go on a while of how to care for your scent lock, and that'll be another video. But the thing is, I was skeptical at first of scent lock when I first started using it, but until I started using it correctly, it didn't truly work. Once I fixed how I was using it, started using it correctly, it worked like a charm. I am a full believer in it, and you cannot deny the science of activated carbon. So, knowing that the dryer will never become high enough pressure or high enough heat to actually reactivate the carbon, we're not reactivating the carbon, we're just deabsorbing it. So, I'm going to throw it in the dryer, get it hot 45 to 60 minutes on high. Immediately when that's done, I'm throwing it in my scent tight container. Anything with a gasket. I love using a plastic tote with a gasket around it. It is perfectly sealed. There's no air getting in and out of it, and you're good to go. Now, on those long hunts, you're going to have to go to a laundromat. It is what it is, especially with scent lock. Scent lock, you get right around 30 hours of air exposure for room to keep absorbing your human odor. So usually you've got, if you hunt all day, probably 2.5 days, 2 days, just to be safe, right? So like I said, any air exposure, that will be absorbing odor. And the more odor it absorbs, the less room in the carbon it has to absorb your human scent while on stand. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to hit the dryer, hit the tote, and I'm good to go. And I like throwing it in there, deabsorbing it again, really close to a hunt. I'm just going to do it, throw it in there, throw it in the tote, and I'm good to go. So that's pretty self-explanatory. That's your pre-hunt clothing, and there's more that goes into it actually during the hunt. So I'm going to get into what I do actually getting ready to walk into the woods. Let's get into that. We are at our hunting spot, and we are ready to walk into the woods. The biggest thing that I don't do is I do not wear my hunting clothing in the vehicle. That's the worst thing you can do. Think about all the odors that are in your truck. Did you pick up pizza for the family that week? What did you have? Smelly socks? Did your kids spill some stuff? Did you spill some stuff in your truck? Think about all the odors that are in your vehicle. Your clothing is going to pick all of that up. So you just washed your clothing. You just had them in their airtight container. But now you're going to leave camp dressed in your hunting clothing that you just took care of in a car full of bad odors that you do not want to do that. So I am not going to touch my hunting clothing until I am at my location and my truck is turned off. The reason for the truck turned off is the exhaust. The last thing I want to do is be getting dressed right next to the tailpipe, right next to that exhaust, my clothing absorbing all of that odor. So I will wait till I'm there, and then I'm going to get my stuff out of the vehicle and then get dressed right there. What I do too is I want to make sure, I love using this filled foam on my hands, my face, and my head, anything exposed, especially when I'm handling my clothing, getting ready for a hunt, in my backpack. Don't forget, you need to wash your backpack and keep that, very tight when it comes to scent control. That backpack is one of the biggest scent wicks we can have. And when I'm walking in, I get very sweaty. So there's times where my backpack is going to absorb a lot of moisture and sweat and human odor. So I need to be very conscious of that and be careful about what clothing I wear walking into the woods, not only to try to stay cool and not sweat a bunch, right? So I try to wear a shirt that I'm not going to actually be sitting on stand in, but I want it to be as scent control as possible. So at that time, I'm actually going to walk in mostly with a summer weight scent lock jacket. I know I'm going to get it sweaty. It is what it is, but it'll help keep the odor absorption into my backpack down at least a little bit. So something else I'm going to do is this boot powder right here. This is specifically dead downwinds, but there's a multiple of them. This boot powder I'm going to put into my boots before I put them on and go hunting. It has helped keep moisture down in my boots and keep the smell down in my boots. So that's something that I've found through the years to actually work pretty well. So personally, this is what I use. So now that we've got everything packed up and ready to go, let's talk about a field spray. The field spray I love using is this Shield field spray. Anything that is not scent lock gets sprayed with this. Backpack, I wear a non-scent lock hat, but that non-scent lock hat is over my scent lock mask. So that hat actually is never truly absorbing any odor. So, Shield, boots, backpack, hat, gloves if you don't wear scent lock gloves. Everything I wear, the only way for that scent lock truly to work is if you're in a full suit. So a full head mask, gloves, jacket, and pants, and it's going to work. So one of the cool things about this past hunt in a lot of hunts is that I've had deer coming out on my actual entry route, on my access, and not spook. If there was any kind of human odor on that access route, they would have been gone long before they made it to my tree. What they were doing is they were coming in smelling that ground disturbance and trying to figure out what made that ground disturbance. What walked through there? They just couldn't figure out what walked through there. And there's been a lot of tests done with tracking dogs and whatnot with the scent lock, and they did the same thing, is that they've followed the ground disturbance, because we're going to leave a disturbance, but as long as you're not brushing up against, branches and foliage with your bare hands, bare arms, head, anything that could leave human odor, then you'll be good. So that is my personal routine, and we can get a lot more in depth when it comes to wind. We can get a lot more in depth when it comes to care for your scent lock clothing, and those will be later videos. But I wanted to make this video very kind of simple and short for you, so you have a very good process. We are just getting into the rut and things are getting good, so we need to be on point with everything that we're doing. That way we can walk into those woods confident and ready to go for when that moment happens. So thanks for watching, y'all. Please hit that like and subscribe button, and I'll see you on the next video.